right, we asked Sean about, we haven't talked to you since Dorsey was promoted. Just the reasoning behind that, obviously keeping some continuity, and what can he bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, Ken, Sean and I have known him for a long time, so we had that camaraderie going in. We definitely interviewed some other guys and just got some different perspectives. But in the end, just being able to keep so many things the same for Josh, and, we've talked about it before. Part of our plan, Sal, when we got started was continuity for Josh, from the coaching staff, the organization, the plays, the protections. Even though we got a new O-line coach, we don't have to change all the protections. He's coming in to kind of learn our system. The more we can keep the same for Josh, the easier it will be to assimilate. Ken's going to have his own, nuances. Everybody does to how they do things, but a lot will be the same, and we just felt in the end that was the most important.
What about with Joe Brady? What was the connection with him, and do you have to get him up to speed, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, this is not an offense that Joe, has run before, but Joe's a bright mind, heard very good things about him. Obviously, great history in college, and with Carolina, his first year, they did some really good things. I don't know what happened specifically. We didn't get into a lot of that in the process, but, being around him for the last few weeks, he's a very humble, for someone who's had his success, very humble, wants to come learn new ways. And then I know, Ken Dorsey's going to ask Joe, hey, how do you see things? What's a way you guys, called this, or a way to beat this coverage, or anything that's going on. So it's always good to have familiarity, but it's always good to challenge and bring new ideas as well. And that was part of the the thought with bringing Joe.
How important was it for him, do you think, to be around you guys as a team, and what sort of improvement did you see?
Nothing but positive about Mitch. He's just, he's a marry your daughter type of guy. Just shows up every day, smile on his face, works hard. For his ups and downs in Chicago, never said a negative word about anything. And, I've been around players when they've come from a stop that didn't go as well, and they can't help themselves. Man, I like this place better because y'all do this and that. And Mitch never, he's such a pro. I was curious, I talked to Josh a little bit as we were closing on the deal, just saying, hey, this may happen, making sure there was nothing I was unaware of, that they would have a relationship, which there wasn't. And, Mitch just came in with open arms, open eyes, learned our system, with Ken Dorsey, Brian Dable, and Josh, and was really just a great caddy the whole year, was ready if his number was called. Fortunately, Josh stayed healthy, but I got nothing but positive things for him, and I feel sure he's going to get, a good opportunity to at least compete for a starting job this year.
Yeah, but if he does, just what makes him ready for that?
What's that?
Just if he does get an opportunity, what makes him ready for that? What do you think? Where do you see that growth in his game?
Yeah, if you look at his career history in Chicago, they went to the playoffs. They won a lot of games. When you compare it to young quarterbacks starting as a rookie, he was drafted highly. And in fairness, I think a lot of it happens because he was drafted so highly and above some of the guys he was always being compared to them, and just, was never going to be able to live up to some of the things that, Mahomes, Watson, some of those guys did. But he's a really good quarterback, and I think he'll have a good opportunity.
Presuming he moves on, if he does, is it pretty much a given you're going to have to find somebody with experience to add to the room? Regardless of what happens in the draft. Do you want a guy who's never started a game starting,
Yeah. I want Peyton Manning or somebody like that if you got him, Mark. But in all seriousness, yeah, that's an important position. We know the quarterback position is the ultimate, in all sports. So it'll be our job to find a suitable replacement, assuming we're not able to get Mitch back. So yeah, we're going to look high and low. We'll look in free agency. We could trade. We could draft. We could do all the above. But we definitely need to find that piece because we know how Josh plays. And as much as I always want Josh to get down, Josh sometimes sees the play all the way through, and it's a 17-game season. So we'll definitely have to find the right answer there. Yes, Stacey. It's good to be back here and not on Zoom, first off. But, it's great. Last night we were able to do interviews in person, and get to meet some of these guys and kind of feel their personality through the night. And there's a lot of I think there's a lot of depth. I don't know if there's the top guys that people are going to sometimes in years past, especially maybe at the quarterback position, but I do think there's a lot of depth in this draft. And I think the mid rounds, once you get out of round 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, I think there's going to be some good value.
Levi is obviously an unrestricted free agent. Obviously, with Tre'Davious' injury, how much does that make cornerback a necessity in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily the draft or free, but we definitely have to look at that. Levi's a free agent. As you said, Trey's coming off the ACL. He's on schedule, doing a great job. He's there every day, working hard, competing the way you guys see him compete in practice. But we'll definitely monitor Levi's situation, and we'll look for depth, free agency if we lose him. But we'll look for it anyway. We're always looking for competition, and then we're definitely going to evaluate the corners here and try and get to know them through this process.
You guys have spent a lot of premium picks in the defensive line over the last couple of years, and you might have a need to acquire some defensive linemen again this year. Is it ever in the back of your mind that, hey, we just spent a lot of picks on defensive line when it comes to another draft, or is it completely, hey, new year, doesn't matter what happened the year before when it comes to draft strategies and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been raised, and it's just always been my thought as I've studied teams that you got to be good up front, both sides of the ball, and you got to have a quarterback. The next thing you got to do is you got to get the other team's quarterback down, and so it's a position every year, whether it's again free agency, the draft, trades. I think you got to look and be as strong as you can. I mean, we were pretty deep this year, but we ran into issues with COVID and some nicks here and there. So, we do have some guys that are unrestricted, and that we'll see if we can get some back. But either way, we'll definitely look to add there.
Do you sense any momentum amongst people inside the league about changing the overtime rules for this coming season?
I do think there will be some changes. I think I don't know how many proposals. A GM and I laughed at the Senior Bowl. There was going to be 32 different proposals, but we definitely put our stamp on one, and ours is going to be more, without getting into detail, more instead of one possession and then you get the other possession is a time. Similar to in basketball you play 5 minutes. Baseball, both teams get the top half, the bottom half. So a time limit, and I'm talking about postseason only, to play it out, and that way both teams will definitely have a chance and maybe even more than one possession. Well, you got player safety, and so it's a 17-game season. I personally don't think ties in the regular season are as big of a deal, but in postseason, you've worked that long, you've played a 17-game season, you've been working since April or May, everything on the line, a coin toss or here or there. I think let's play it out and a certain amount of time. That's our opinion. I don't know that that'll be the final result in March at the owners' meetings, but I think there's going to be some good proposals, and hopefully it at least comes to a point where both teams get an opportunity.
Brandon, you said Tre'Davious is on schedule, but conservatively, what does that look like for you guys? Like, what are you kind of targeting?
We're not targeting anything. I mean, he'll have markers, Joe, with the trainers. Tre'Davious is going to want to participate in June. I mean, we'll have to hold him back from himself, but we're not going to put a timestamp on it. It's really hard to do that. I don't want to put the pressure of him. I've seen it where guys, they start pressing too hard to get out there when they're not ready. So we'll follow the doctors and all of our trainers, and we'll follow their advice. And when they say he's ready to go, we'll get him out there.
That position has any residual effect with the torn ACL?
No, not really. I mean, our docs feel very confident that as long as he does the process, a lot of it is how you're built. A lot of times the better the athlete, the quicker you can overcome that. And so, Tre'Davious is obviously a tremendous athlete, and we feel that'll help him, through the process.
The Giants have stolen a lot of people from the Bills organization this offseason. What do you make of all of them stealing all your guys?
We're going to have to find a way to steal some of those back. No, those are really good people, and again, it's bittersweet. We're going to miss them personally and professionally, but wish them nothing but the best. And I'm confident, that they'll do a really good job, for the Giants. And, I'm glad it's not in the division. I'm glad it's in the NFC, AFC. And I'm sure we'll share ideas as we kind of, move along in whatever process, free agency, the draft, who knows, maybe preseason, whatever.
When you did moves, Joe, I remember you saying you were still trying to kind of sort things out with your staff and who fits in where. Are you any closer to that?
As far as our staff?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, the first thing was getting our coaching staff settled with the changes there, with Ken Dorsey and Joe Brady and all those guys. But we're just going to ride out our staff until the draft, and then once that's over, that's kind of the end of the personnel season anyway. And at that point, I'll have a clearer picture what I want to do, and I'm going to look at various ways, but we'll adjust it at that point. But right now, I'm just going to – everybody's kind of pitched in to take over the various roles that Joe did for us, and we'll just ride that out until early May when the draft's over.
Brandon, you noticed over the last 5 years, are there certain positions that lead to sort of longer discussions or more disagreement based from you to one of your other colleagues in the building? Like, have you just noticed that certain positions tend to be gather a wider variety of opinions, or does it kind of depend year to year?
Quarterback. Yeah, it really is. I go back to the year we were in that process. There was a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts. They come in all different size, shapes, and different systems. I think that's the most argued about position, and probably it always will be. And I think in that draft, if you had 5 different teams drafting number 1, you might have had 3 different players, maybe 4 that were drafted. Everybody kind of had the guy they fell in love with, and luckily for us, our guy fell to 7.
What allowed you to be so aggressive that year? That felt like you had a plan, you stuck to it, you got the 2 guys you were looking for. What sort of gave you the comfort knowing that we can make this 2 aggressive moves up in the first round?
Yeah, Eric, I think for us it was conviction, and it was going through the process, doing the work in the fall, and I knew if I was going to be standing here 5 years later that I had to get that position right. And so it was really back to the trades, when we moved on from Sammy Watkins and Marcel Darius and Darby and several of those guys, was to prepare ourselves no matter where we finished, that we could go get the quarterback or quarterbacks that we wanted to, that we thought fit Buffalo and what we were going to build. And so we had the conviction there that let's just get ourselves in position. We were at 21, and as I was talking to people in the top 10, nobody wanted to go down to 21. So the next thing was, how do I get closer? And we were able to work that deal out with Cincy to get to 12. At that point, people started entertaining, moving from 4 to 12, 5 to 12, ultimately 7 to 12.
Last question, please. Last question. Can you give us a couple reasons why so many college receivers come out now and can make the instant impact of the NFL? Why is that position so much better today than it was maybe in years past?
Yeah, I think the 7-on-7s and all the passing academies. There's if you go to watch a junior high, maybe even below that, you go to watch a junior high football game, they're running the spread system, and again, there's so many various passing camps, 7-on-7s. You see them. We do one at our stadium where some of the high school guys are there playing. So I just think the passing game is it used to be when I played and we all played, we were, if you threw the ball 3 times a game in middle school, you threw it a lot, and now they hardly run the ball. Most of them are throwing it. So I just think players are and there's more receivers being developed. There's not 2 receivers now. There's 3 and 4 wide. So more players are getting the opportunity to do that, and I think it's why so.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.